Hello everyone and welcome back to the 3T Path channel. My name is Giridhari. And today I want to talk about overcoming guilt. We've seen, Will Smith's video. If you haven't seen it, after months of silence, he's finally come out and he's done a video to talk about his infamous slap of Chris Rock during the Oscars. So when we see the video, when I saw the video, of course he's an actor, so who knows, right? But it seems like he is profoundly, he profoundly regrets his action. I mean, he's oozing regret. He's like really understands that he's made a mistake. He feels very bad for it, and he was careful to identify, because now it's clear, which at the time was obvious for us. It was like that. It was such a bad action because it hurt so many different people who had nothing to do with it, right? The other people getting their Oscars that night, like their whole Oscar now, which is this one in a lifetime thing. You get an Oscar and it's ruined. Overshadowed by his poor action. So that was horrible. Family members, as he points out in his video, what does Chris Rock's mother think? She was like her son being slapped on TV in front of millions, hundreds of millions of people. So what is that like? So I'd see, it was, so you could see his regret, because now he was identifying how he hurt so many people. And his whole family, of course, because his whole family's got this stigma now, his friends, his career. So many people were hurt, right? I can imagine his, manager. So many people were damaged by that. And he's clearly identifying that and full of regret. So the point is, how does that work for us? What can we learn from this? Well, for one thing, of course, the more public your error is, the bigger it is. And in his case, it was all out, right? I mean, he's super famous. He hits a super famous guy, Chris Rock, in a super famous setting, the Oscars, in front of hundreds of millions of people. So that's the worst, right? It's and it was again, it was a bad action, physical aggression, not nice at all. So really bad, really public. So deep, huge amounts of shame, right? Of guilt, huge amounts. But then one thing he says, which I liked, and what we have to take into consideration for our lives, is how do you feel that regret? How do you feel sorry, but not feel like a piece of he says something, of excrement? How not to feel like the worst, the pits. How do you balance that out? And of course, the way you do that is he's saying, I learned from it. And that's the most important thing. Like what I say is, guilt is good. Some people say, oh no, you can never feel guilt. No, whoa, take it easy there. You should feel guilt. I mean, if you never feel guilt, you're a psych. I mean, that is the definition of a sociopath, of a psychopath. You don't feel guilt. You have to feel guilt if you do something wrong. And of course, the graver the mistake, the more guilt you should feel. But only insofar as it will help you learn and not do the mistake again. That is the only point of guilt, is so that you can learn and grow and not commit the mistake again. That's why you should have guilt. No, you shouldn't just do horrible things and not think about it. You should think about it, but only so you can learn. But at some point, you have to let go of that guilt. So what happens is, especially with a public figure, it gets really hard, because people want to, but it might happen, it will happen with, it happens with us as well sometimes, depending if you've made a big public mistake. People will want to push you back into that space of guilt and shame. And you might try to get out of it. You've learned your lesson. They're going to try, no, you have to be there. Because they'll say that if you're not there, then you're thinking you didn't commit a mistake. So people confuse that. They think, if you don't permanently, hang your head low in shame, then you haven't, learned from the mistake. You haven't truly, gotten over it. You should still be there. But we have to get over it at some point. Lesson learned. You have to put that in the past and just stop talking about it. You can't be going back, because the point of the shame and guilt is so that you could become a better person. And so a better person who's learned from the mistakes, that's good. But a person with lots of guilt and shame, that is not a good version of you. That is a better version of you without the guilt and shame. So we can't be stuck in the guilt and shame and the learning. We have to be, learn from the lesson, learn from the mistake, and then drop the guilt and shame. So you can just have your life, you go back to, just back into the here and now, past, okay, lesson done, forget about it. Case sealed and filed, just put it away. And it's hard for us to do that because we can, like he says, he's asking for forgiveness. He's saying, please, Chris Rock, forgive me. Please, he's identified his mistake, right? Chris Rock's mother was hurt, the other people getting their Oscars. So he's like, now he's truly figured out it was how bad it was. Because he's seen the different people he hurt, his family, Chris Rock's mother, that person, like he's hurt so many people. So he's identified that, but you have to get, put that away now. Let go of that now. And so we have to do that as well. We have to learn to put it away. It's hard. You can see in the video he's struggling with that. It's like, what's the limit? Like, when do I stop? Like, what's enough? There was a famous yoga spiritual master type guy in Brazil called Prem Baba, and he did, he was caught cheating, typical thing, having sex with disciples, and so it was really bad. And also, like, there were some accusations that he was doing some other things, and whatever. So it was really bad. It was really shameful. He was right at the top. He crashed down. Public. Like it was it was harsh. It was like a heavy shame, guilt thing going on. But I remember, like, months later, after it was like made known, and he comes out and there was a video of him. I remember he's like, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to kill myself? He let that out. I could see he was so frustrated. It was like, because people won't let him get out of that space of shame and guilt. It's like, what do you want? You want me to kill myself? It seems like so people might want to do that with you. You might have committed a mistake and people want to keep shoving you back in that hole of guilt and shame. Like practically they just want you to kill yourself as the only way is to, like, overcome it. But that's not true. You don't have to do that. You just have to learn from the mistake. And then just be the best person you can now, having learned that you don't want to be that person you were again. And then just live your life. Go on with your life, as best you can. So let me know if that makes sense to you, and leave a comment, leave your questions. I love hearing from you. And thank you so much for your time, and have a wonderful day with lots of peace and lots of love.